You hear the moods snapping. This is not the West Side Story. No, this is Day 9 Daily, number 391. It is Wednesday, December 28th, 2011. Merry Christmas, everyone. We finally got past Christmas. Woo! Don't have to worry about giving people gifts anymore. All we have to do is play StarCraft. Yes! And of course, with 2012 right around the corner, it's time for those New Year resolutions to begin outpouring. In today's topic, we're going to explore the idea of asking lots of questions and trying to answer them. It sounds very, very vague, but it is the core idea to improvement. But we're not just going to explore the topic in a general sense. What we're going to do is look at games from a first-person restricted perspective. So that way we can do both reading of the enemy and sort of thoughts on what the player is doing to help us in our little quest journey type thing. So what I would like to do is tell you a story of, you, as a matter of fact. That's how we'll begin the prompt for today's daily. Once upon a time, you started playing StarCraft 2, but GSL games were looking really good. And you could play, but you really wanted to see what happened to Fruit Dealer in those finals. And all of a sudden, MLG has StarCraft 2 on their circuit? Then the NASL gets announced at the start of 2011, and GSL continues to be good, and then all of a sudden players are starting to stream, and suddenly you don't play StarCraft 2 anymore, do you? I caught you. You never play StarCraft 2 because it's so easy just to tune in and watch. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to come over to a game, and let me just show you. This is the opposite of watching StarCraft. This is an overlay. There we go. That's the main screen. This is the sort of thing that you end up seeing. You see, we see White Ra versus Braddock. We have, like, food counts here and all that sort of goodness. We have all the resources up here. Unfortunately, I don't even know how to turn that off. You have the production tab open. You see the whole map, right? You're used to these statements of complete information. Now, this makes StarCraft 2 a very exciting game to observe because of information asymmetry. You know a lot of stuff that the players don't. For instance, you know that White Ra is pretty damn close to Braddock in these starting positions. But if we actually come to the White Ra camera, we can see clearly he has done nothing more than explore a little bit more of his own top plateau. And of course, this makes for all sorts of excitement. Oh my god, does he see the drop coming? Blah, blah, blah. And you feel all good and happy and great. But there's this problem that comes when you start to actually sit down and play. You become inspired by watching one of those Mega Gosu players in GSL play, and you think, I want to do that exact strategy. And you sit down to play, and suddenly you don't have any information, and everything feels terrible. And you have all these fears, like, oh my god, maybe he can just have Dark Templar and 15 Colossi, and he'll be storm dropping me any second now. So you build a whole bunch of turrets, get a bunch of Vikings, you have the detection at your front, and instead your opponent has expanded 15 times and you lose. And this becomes very difficult to overcome. Even for me, in my experience, this is something that will happen to me in a game. Here's a specific example. I do a lot of StarCraft replay watching. Most recently, in one of the dailies, I watched this amazing build that a Protoss player did against Xenio, where he opens up getting 4 really fast warp gates. He expands, and then he goes very fast for warp gate with a +1 upgrade. And he starts warping in a lot of zealots. And while he's doing that, he gets double Stargate, and he goes for a bunch of Void Rays. So the idea is you send in all the zealots, you follow up with the Void Rays, and then you try to kill off his expansion. But as I'm sending the Void Rays over, this question popped into my head. I had these 4 gateways, and it's not that I forgot to macro out of them. It's that the Zealot attack was done. There was no reason to keep going. I didn't know what to do with my gateways. I had no idea what to do. I had no freaking clue what to do with my gateways. Do I keep making Zealots at home? Do I make Stalkers now? Do I make some sentries because I'm worried about being counterattacked? I just didn't have a damn clue. I had no freaking idea. And this really bothered me. And of course you end up sort of experimenting around and trying to solve for that. But one thing that was really great is after a long session of playing, I tuned into some just Twitch TV streams and started having conversations with a friend over Skype about what was going on in these games and what we thought about it. And this becomes an extremely potent way to answer some of those questions that you've been storing up. So what I want to do is I want to go through a lightning fast example of this idea of having a lot of questions and trying to answer them by watching a player like White Raw play. So here's a great question that you might overlook. When the hell do I scout? And it looks like White Raw just sends a guy out on 13, and it looks like he's early expanding. Now, many of you have probably done these sorts of Nexus first expand builds. Here it comes. He's throwing it down on 17, it looks like he's going to do. And here's a great question. A lot of times people who do this early expand know like fast Colossus plays, they know fast Blink Stalker plays, but what the hell do you do to defend against some kind of early pressure? White Raw's doing some scouting. He sees that there's absolutely no gas, so it's either big early aggression or it's going to be an early expand. So I might ask the question, well, how the hell do I hold off some of those early aggression? And I see White Raw, who is so unbelievably good, answer this question for me. Look at that. He actually chrono boosts out 2 zealots and even goes ahead and builds a 3rd zealot and chrono boosts those. That's actually quite useful. And it's very tempting to do things like hit this accursed E button and actually go investigate and go, oh man, Braddock, you sneaky Ukrainian, you're not expanding at all. You're actually going to try to kill White Raw early on. It's very, very tempting to do that kind of thing. But we are not going to allow ourselves to do that. What we are going to do is we are going to watch a Terran versus Zerg game. We're going to treat it as if it were a stream. I'm actually going to load it up. We're going to watch from the Terran player's point of view. And we're going to watch it on just the regular game speed. And what we're going to end up doing is we're going to talk through all the decisions that this player could be making. And we're going to try to sort out this whole idea of asking questions, answering them. And the reason I chose the specific Terran game is because, first of all, next week is Terran week, and we're going to be exploring all sorts of Terranness. But also because this is a Mech against Zerg play. And I think a lot of people are used to the Marine tank sort of play. So this is one that's going to give us a lot of questions to ask and answer. So let's pop into the game. I'm going to speed it up just a smidge at the start. This is on that one ladder map whose name I don't know. And I'm sure it's just going to pop up in the chat at some point. So let me go ahead and, hell, I'll even open up the chat and people will just help me out. Yeah. But as we pop back into the game, I am going to choose the player camera. I'm going to slow it on down. And let's go ahead and begin. Now, this is a very long game. I'm hoping that we'll be able to get through all of it. But this is essentially what happens to you when you are watching a stream. Oh, it's Arid Plateau. Thank you so much. This is something that will happen to you when you are watching a stream of your opponent playing. Or, excuse me, of. Well, you won't be watching a stream of your opponent playing unless your name is Combat X. Zing! You ordinarily will be watching a player like, I don't know, your Select or something, or your Liquid Jinro or something like that. And you'll be just checking him out, and you won't actually get the chance to stop, like I am now, and investigate your opponent's base. But you'll see him do something like this, like build this engineering bay right at the start. So cool. As we return back to the player cam, I can say something safely, like, oh cool, it's reasonable to just on a 2-player map go block him right away.
Base is under attack.
Now, one thing that I want to address right away at this point in time is that I've gotten the chance to play a little bit more over the break, and I'm really excited. And I'm going to present 2 ideas. 2 ideas for every single game. I want you to, before you even begin the game, have an idea of what your core army is and what your opening is. Your core army should be something as simple, or the core army is just the army you're going for, like Colossus, Stalker, Sentry, or Marine, Tank, Medevac. Something simple like that. The opening is a start opening to the game that allows you to do something. And I am going to leave it as vague as that. It could help you get a 3rd. It could help you try to kill off his 3rd. Some simple opening. And we're going to be connecting a lot of dots in between here. Now this is delightful for me. I don't even have to lift my hands off the keyboard. This is so cool. Now, one thing that I want you to know is that our Terran player is more than willing to be really bold with that one engineering bay. He is going really crazy with the engineering bay. like being very, very aggressive with it. But I think this is all pretty typical, expected stuff. Now, I want to begin starting to give a framework for this whole idea of answering and asking questions. So, because I have notes written down here, where are they? Ha, there we go. Now I can pop back into the game. So, the two things that I want you to keep in mind whenever you're watching a game like this is put yourself in the Terran player's shoes and ask yourself a question, or ask yourself the following two questions. One is, what should I do next? Or, I guess more appropriately, what would I do next? What would I do here? And the other one is, what am I worried about? So you're noticing that this one SCV pokes up into the base. Are you worried about Baneling busts? Are you worried about Roach all-ins? Are you worried about Mutalisks? Because I'll be very honest, I know the way you play. I know how this feels when you're in the middle of a game and you're just thinking like, you're like, oh my god, is he maybe he could be going Mutalisks here. I don't know. Is he going Roaches? I don't know. I guess I have to build turrets right now. Maybe I need a scan. I don't know. Right? You freak out. And you start to just build all the things to account for all the fears. I don't want you to do this. I want you to have some directed stuff. And this is one of the big reasons why
are under attack.
It's so useful to watch one of these ultra good players and just mimic him. This is, by the way, a game that I picked off Play XP. So far, everything's pretty typical. We are seeing our good old Terran buddy go for the reactor Hellion opening. He's building his command center. And there's going to be some questions that you come up with right on the fly, but a lot of this is built up from your stores of playing games. I almost want to encourage you, go out and play like 10 games and just accumulate questions. Like, here's a question. When should you build this supply depot? When does this thing get built? The supply depot right before you hit 27 food. A lot of players mess that up. A lot of players mess that up. Okay, so I'm going to start telling you what I would do at this point in time. What I would probably be looking to do at this point is doing a little bit of Hellion harass. I'm imagining he has Zergling speed at this point in time, even though I haven't really gotten the chance to see it. I don't think he's going to be going Roaches because that would be a little bit too quick. I mean, I blocked his expansion for so long. And I'd probably be gearing up to go for some sort of marine tank after I expand, but we're actually seeing this player do some really weird things with those Hellions, right? This is something that actually genuinely surprised me when I watched. I'll be very honest with you, if I were watching this replay quickly, I would not notice that his Hellions, as of yet, have not even begun to poke at the opponent. They're just dealing with various counterattacks and that sort of thing. Trying to check for all those expansions, and now finally he begins to move out. So let's try to start reading our opponent. Okay, he has some spine crawlers up. That's going to delay his tech at least a little bit. I'm also getting, looks like Blue Flame Hellion upgrade started. Okay, that seems reasonable. And this is a point in time where I think a lot of people, I think right around here, most people will be able to do this. Because this is an opening. They'll say, okay, yeah, I just open up with the Blue Flame, and then I lift my reactor, and I get another factory on it. I want to start asking some questions. So here's a great question to ask. When the hell do I get that third factory? I know I don't want to just be on factories forever. Okay, or 2 factories forever. When do I get my armory? I know that I'll eventually need to build these little Thori guys. What are some other reasonable questions that I could ask? When do I stop building Hellions? Do I ever stop building Hellions? How the hell does my Hellion production work? That's a real basic question to ask, right? Do I just keep building Hellions? Do I get the Thors first or the tanks first? I know eventually what my core army is going to be. It's going to be a bunch of tanks and Thors and Hellions. But when do I do all the specific starting and stopping of each of those things? I have some questions now. Let's reiterate the questions. When more factories? When get Thors? When stop building Hellions? When start building tanks? Bam! Sweet, let's go ahead and pop back into game. Thank goodness we are watching this in first-person mode. He's doing a little roasting. Okay, now let me tell you something that a lot of players will do. Let's pretend you're one of those players who loves to suicide his Hellions in. Really loves suiciding him in to kill off drones. I'm starting to notice a difference between what I do and what he does. And I want you to be very sensitive to that. I want you to be sensitive to the difference between you two, but I can't say it enough, so I'll say it twice. The most important feeling to internalize and to listen to, the most important thing, period, is to be aware of when you say, I fucking have no clue what to do here. I have no idea. I want you to delight when that happens. I want you to get so excited when that happens. I want you to retrain your brain to delight when you have no clue what to do. Because now you have some goals. Now you have motivations for your StarCraft practice. I'm sure this has happened to you before, where there was one strategy that you could never beat. Like a 2 racks attack early on, a 2 racks all in, you could never beat. So you practice and practice and practice and practice and practice, and then you can finally beat it. And then what happens? When you see the 2 racks, suddenly what used to be you going and getting nervous is you going, yeah, and being delighted. You have retrained your brain to have a different emotional response when that happens. So when you have no freaking clue what to do, I want you to be very sensitive to that. I want you to listen very closely to yourself. So here's some things that I'm just sort of noticing. I didn't ask myself these questions, but I'm certainly noticing them. Our Terran player has not reinforced his Hellion numbers at all. He's just had those initial 4. And it looks like, wow, it looks like that was actually a pretty damn good call by him. He ended up getting counterattacked, didn't actually do the best job of holding it off. Now his blue flame is revealed. Wow, look at that! He revealed his blue flame. Part of my instinct would be to conceal that. And look at that. It looks like he's getting his 3rd factory after he gets his starport. And he's just insta-throwing down his 2nd armory. Or excuse me, his 1st armory. So suddenly I have some more information. He goes 2 factory, and then he just goes starport, factory, armory. Just in that order. Boom, boom, boom. Straight away. Hasn't even gotten any extra gas geysers yet. And I want those to be those sort of type moments for you. I want you to really go, oh, that's interesting. So what is another question that I asked for myself? Well, when does he actually start building tanks and stop building Hellions? Well, it actually looks kind of like he's still building just Hellions. I'm starting to feel a little concerned, aren't you? I'm starting to think, well, my opponent could be getting roaches soon. He could be getting air soon. He could be getting... could be getting a lot of things that aren't Zerglings right about now, but we've pretty much only made Hellions. So this is an interesting thing for me to see. It's really interesting for me to see the engineering bay just sort of go down blindly and for that armory to go down blindly. You'll notice that I haven't even opened up this production tab at all. Hellions still being made out of all the factories. If you're watching a stream on Twitch TV, you can easily just see exactly what your opponent's doing because you'll see these little icons light up a lot. It's a little bit harder to do it when I'm doing my first-person replay thing. But isn't that a hell of a surprise to you? That he's actually building only Hellions for a long frickin' time. A long time. And it looks like he's going to do the drop. Misses a supply depot. That seems bad.
Add-on complete.
And I almost want to say the instant he stops building all these Hellions, he starts getting more geysers. You see what I did? I said something with absolutely no sureness at all. That is a question that I have asked myself that I don't have an answer to. I'm going to stop for a break right now, just a 2-minute break before we hop into part 2. But I want to leave on that note where I watched and I had a question that got answered. When does the factory get built? I saw when it got built, and I just noted it. Cool, that's a timing that I now know that I can utilize because this player has done it. I haven't seen anything go really wrong. And then he does something that kind of makes me go, okay. He builds his geysers at his third or his second base really late. He builds geysers 3 and 4 really late. My instinct is to say that that's a little bit late. That's what my gut tells me. And it's okay to trust your gut. It's okay to leave that as a lingering doubt. And it's okay to do it in your own game as a lingering doubt. To say, well, I watched some player better than I did build those 2 gas geysers there, so I'm just going to build them there. Excellent! All right, great. When we come back into part 2, we're going to start exploring, again, some of these questions that we could ask ourselves. And I'm actually just going to go into a long rant in part 2, where I'm going to pretend that you're not even there, and I'm just going to have my own inner monologue about it. So let's just take a break and go into part 2. Yeah! 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 Yes!